Jax's revenge domain. I'm sorry, Steve, but effective immediately, your position is being eliminated. That's what the HR woman said. No eye contact. Just clicking her pen like she was marking off items on a grocery list, not destroying a 53-year-old man's career. Meanwhile, Brad Cooper, my boss for the last 8 years, sat across that conference table with a smirk like he'd just pulled off the deal of the century. His tie was crooked. I remember that detail clearly. That stupid red tie with tiny golf clubs on it, like he thought he was some country club hotshot instead of a middle manager who couldn't find his way out of a paper bag without GPS. Named Steve Morrison, by the way. 53 years old, been working at this company for 25 years, ever since I got out of the Army. 25 years of showing up early, staying late, and making sure things got done right. And they're cutting me loose 1 week before quarterly bonuses get paid out. 1 week. The same company where I'd built their entire West Coast operations from scratch, where I'd pulled 60-hour weeks and sacrificed weekends like they were just another resource to burn through. I knew what that bonus was going to be, at least 45 grand. Money that was already earmarked for my son's college tuition and the assisted living facility my old man needed before his memory got any worse. But Brad, he was restructuring. Apparently that meant axing anyone with institutional knowledge and a salary higher than what they paid the new college hires. I stood up slowly, keeping my voice level. 25 years of military discipline don't just disappear because some corporate suit decides to play hardball. No severance package? Standard package, the HR ghoul chirped. 3 weeks and a positive reference, assuming no complications. Wouldn't dream of complicating anything, I said, grabbing my jacket. Just business, right? I walked out of that office the same way I'd walked out of plenty of tough situations. Head up, shoulders square. No drama, no outburst. That's not how you handle these things when you're a grown man with responsibilities. But I'll tell you what, the walk to my desk felt like the longest march of my life. 25 years of work, reduced to whatever would fit in a cardboard box. Photos of my kid graduating high school. My dad in his Korean War uniform. A coffee mug that said "World's Okayest Manager," gift from the team last Christmas. Couple of commendation letters from clients who actually appreciated competent work. The elevator ride down was quiet, except for the mechanical hum of corporate efficiency grinding away another career. I nodded to security on the way out, guys I'd known for years, who suddenly couldn't meet my eyes. They knew what was happening, probably had a list of other good people getting the axe this week. It wasn't until I got home that evening, sitting in my kitchen with a beer and a microwave dinner, that something started nagging at me. Not just the unfairness of it all. Hell, the corporate world's been unfair since the first caveman figured out how to charge interest on mammoth meat. It was something else, something about the timing. See, I'd been around long enough to recognize patterns, and this pattern stunk like week-old fish. They'd waited until after the Apex Industries contract was signed and sealed. That massive compliance deal I'd spent 6 months negotiating, working with their engineers and safety teams, making sure every detail was bulletproof. The kind of contract that would boost quarterly numbers by millions. Then conveniently, they decided my position was redundant. I pulled out my laptop and started making some calls. Not emotional calls, tactical ones. In the Army, we called it reconnaissance. Gather intelligence before you make your move. First call went to Jerry Patterson, my contact at Apex. We'd developed a good working relationship during the contract negotiations. Guy respected straight talk and competent work. Traits that seem to be going extinct in corporate America. "Steve, good to hear from you," Jerry said when he picked up. "How's the implementation going on our deal?" "Actually, Jerry, that's why I'm calling. I got terminated today. They're saying restructuring, but the timing's interesting." Long pause. "Terminated? You were the only reason we signed with your company instead of Meridian Corp. You personally guaranteed the service levels, walked us through every compliance requirement. Hell, we structured the payment schedule based on your recommendation." "What kind of payment schedule?" "Front-loaded, like you suggested. 80% payment on signature, 20% on completion. Supposed to help your cash flow for Q3. Total value, $15 million over the contract term." I nearly dropped the phone. $15 million. And they'd structured it to dump most of that revenue into Q3, right before bonus calculations. "Jerry, do me a favor, send me a copy of that signed contract if you can. I want to make sure the transition team has all the details they need." "Sure thing, Steve. And for what it's worth, if this is how your company treats good people, we might be looking for a new vendor when renewal time comes around." After we hung up, I sat staring at my laptop screen. The pieces were starting to come together, and the picture wasn't pretty. They'd used me to land a massive contract, structured the payments to inflate Q3 profits, then cut me loose to reduce overhead costs. Classic corporate greed, but executed with the subtlety of a freight train. Time to do what any good soldier does when he realizes he's been ambushed. Regroup, assess the situation, and plan a counterattack. But first, I needed more intelligence. And I knew exactly who to call. Tony Rodriguez answered on the second ring. Tony and I went way back. Gulf War, same unit, same sense of duty that apparently didn't translate well to corporate boardrooms. After we both got out, we'd ended up at the same company by pure coincidence. Him in IT, me in operations. Over the years, we'd watched each other's backs through reorganizations, budget cuts, and the endless parade of MBAs who thought business school taught them how the real world worked. Steve, man, I heard what happened. Complete garbage. Yeah, well, that's corporate America for you. Listen, I need a favor. You still have access to the server logs? Course I do. What are you thinking? I want to see who's been accessing what files since my termination. Specifically, anything related to personnel records, performance reviews, that kind of thing. Tony was quiet for a moment. In the background, I could hear the hum of servers and the click of keyboards, the sound of a man who actually worked for a living instead of sitting in meetings all day talking about synergy and paradigm shifts. You think they're covering their tracks? I think they're building a paper trail that didn't exist when I was there. Can you check? Give me an hour. I'll call you back. While I waited, I decided to reach out to Janet Miller. Janet had been the senior accountant for longer than anyone could remember, one of those people who knew where all the financial bodies were buried. She was planning to retire at the end of the year with her full pension, which meant she had less to lose than most people if she spoke up about something that didn't smell right. We agreed to meet at Denny's off Highway 101, neutral territory, away from corporate eyes. Janet was already there when I arrived, nursing a coffee and looking like someone who'd been carrying a heavy burden for too long. Steve, I'm glad you called. There's something you need to know about what's been happening since you left. She pulled out a manila folder, thick with documents. They've been scrambling to adjust the Q3 numbers, moving revenue around, accelerating recognition on contracts that shouldn't be booked until Q4 or even next year. The Apex deal, that's just the beginning. There are 3 other major contracts they've restructured the accounting on. Revenue that should be spread over multiple quarters is being dumped into Q3 to make the profit numbers look incredible right before bonus calculations. Janet spread out several spreadsheets on the table. Look at this. Original projections versus what they're reporting now. They've inflated the quarterly profit by over 40%. And here's the kicker. They eliminated 4 senior positions right after these contract modifications were approved. You, Charlie from procurement, Lisa from quality assurance, and Gerald from compliance. I studied the numbers. Even without an accounting degree, the manipulation was obvious. This has to be illegal. It's creative accounting that walks right up to the line of fraud. Maybe crosses it. The SEC would have a field day with this if they ever saw it. Janet leaned back in her booth. But here's what really bothers me, Steve. These weren't random layoffs. They specifically targeted people who'd been with the company long enough to recognize when something didn't add up. People who might ask uncomfortable questions. Veteran employees. Exactly. Every person they cut had military experience and institutional knowledge. They're cleaning house of anyone who might blow the whistle on their creative bookkeeping. My phone buzzed. Tony, Steve, you're not going to believe what I found. Since your termination, there's been a flurry of activity on the personnel files. Performance reviews, disciplinary actions, improvement plans, all created in the last week. All backdated to look like they were written months ago. How can you tell? Metadata doesn't lie, buddy. Every document has a creation timestamp that can't be faked. Brad's been busy building a case that you were fired for cause, but he's doing it after the fact. Sloppy work, really. Guy doesn't understand that computers keep track of everything. Can you get me copies? Already done. Sending them to your personal email now. But Steve, there's more. They've been deleting email chains, cleaning out shared drives, wiping anything that might contradict their new narrative. It's like watching someone trying to rewrite history in real time. I thanked Tony and hung up. Janet was watching me with the expression of someone who'd seen too many good people get screwed over by corporate greed. What's your plan, Steve? Honestly, I'm still figuring that out. But I know one thing. They picked the wrong guy to mess with. 25 years in the Army teaches you a few things about strategy and patience. Janet smiled for the first time since I'd arrived. Good, because I've been documenting everything for the past month. Every email, every meeting note, every suspicious accounting adjustment. I may be close to retirement, but I still believe in doing things the right way. She handed me the manila folder. Copies of everything. Original financial projections. Email chains from the CFO ordering the revenue adjustments. Meeting minutes where they discussed optimizing headcount before bonus calculations. Why are you doing this, Janet? Because I've got grandchildren, Steve, and I don't want them growing up in a world where this kind of behavior is just accepted as normal business practice. She finished her coffee. Besides, someone needs to stand up to these people. Might as well be us. After Janet left, I sat in that Denny's booth for another hour, reading through the documents she'd given me. The pattern was clear as day: financial manipulation followed by strategic elimination of anyone who might question it. It wasn't just greed, it was calculated, deliberate fraud. But now I had something they didn't expect. Evidence. Real, documented proof of their scheme. Time to find myself a lawyer who understood that sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. And I knew exactly the kind of attorney I needed. Someone who understood that honor and integrity weren't just words you threw around in company mission statements. Roger Hayes ran his law practice out of a converted warehouse downtown, the kind of place that prioritized substance over style. No marble floors or fancy artwork, just functional furniture, law books that looked like they'd actually been read, and a coffee pot that had seen better decades. The man himself matched the office. Vietnam veteran, maybe 60, with the kind of weathered face that comes from years of fighting battles that actually mattered. So they terminated you a week before quarterly bonuses, Roger said, scanning the documents I'd brought him. Classic timing. Let me guess. Restructuring? That's their story. And now they're scrambling to create a paper trail that justifies firing you for cause. He held up one of Tony's printouts. Document creation timestamps don't lie, Steve. This performance review was written 3 days after your termination. Sloppy work. Can we use that? Oh, we can use it. But first, tell me about this original employment agreement you mentioned on the phone. I handed him the contract I'd dug out of my files. Roger read through it with the kind of attention I used to give mission briefings. Methodical, thorough, looking for details that could make the difference between success and failure. This clause, he said, tapping Section 8C with his pen. 10% of departmental quarterly profit for any veteran employee terminated without cause. That was written back when the company actually valued military service. What's it worth now? Roger pulled out a calculator and started working through Janet's financial documents. Based on these inflated Q3 projections, we're looking at approximately $1.2 million. The number hit me like a physical blow. I'd been thinking in terms of getting my job back, maybe some compensation for the hassle. This was life-changing money. They'll fight it, I said. Of course they will. Corporate lawyers are paid to fight everything, even when they know they're wrong. But Steve, this isn't just about your contract anymore. Roger spread out the accounting documents Janet had provided. This is financial fraud, revenue manipulation, coordinated terminations to hide evidence, document forgery. The SEC would love to get their hands on this. What's the play? We document everything first, build an airtight case that proves intent and pattern. Then we request a meeting, formal negotiation. See how reasonable they want to be when faced with federal fraud charges. Over the next week, Roger and I worked like we were planning a military operation. Every piece of evidence cataloged, every timeline verified, every witness statement documented. Tony provided more server logs showing the systematic deletion of files. Janet gave us financial records that proved the revenue manipulation was deliberate and coordinated. Even Jerry Patterson at Apex agreed to provide a sworn statement about how the contract negotiations had been conducted. The picture that emerged was ugly but clear. A coordinated scheme to inflate quarterly profits by manipulating revenue recognition, followed by strategic elimination of veteran employees who might question the accounting irregularities. Not just greed, systematic fraud designed to maximize executive bonuses at the expense of everything else. They made one critical mistake, Roger said as we reviewed the final case file. They got greedy. If they'd just paid you the normal severance and moved on, this would have cost them maybe 50 grand. Instead, they decided to lie, cheat, and forge documents. Now they're looking at potential criminal charges and million-dollar payouts. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday morning in the company's main conference room. Brad Cooper, CEO Keith Reynolds, their corporate attorney Susan Walsh, and some guy in an expensive suit who looked like he specialized in making problems disappear. On our side, just me, Roger, and a briefcase full of evidence that could destroy careers. "Gentlemen," Susan Walsh began, "we appreciate you agreeing to this meeting. We're prepared to offer a generous settlement to resolve any misunderstandings about Mr. Morrison's departure." She slid a document across the polished table. $150,000 plus full benefits continuation for 6 months. That's well above our standard package for restructuring situations. I didn't even look at it. And look. Roger opened his briefcase and pulled out his laptop. "Before we discuss settlements," Roger said calmly, "I think you should understand exactly what kind of evidence we've uncovered." He connected to the room's projection system. "Let's start with the document forgery. The screen filled with server logs, timestamps, metadata, technical proof that every negative performance review had been created after my termination." Brad Cooper's face went from smug to pale in about 30 seconds. "That's impossible," he stammered. "Those reviews were written months ago. Technology doesn't lie, Mr. Cooper, unlike some people in this room." Roger clicked to the next slide. Financial spreadsheets, email chains, meeting notes, Janet's evidence laid out in clinical detail. Revenue manipulation, accelerated contract recognition, deliberate inflation of Q3 profits to maximize bonuses. Keith Reynolds hadn't said a word yet, but his jaw was getting tighter with each slide. Smart enough to see where this was heading, and experienced enough to know when his company was facing existential threat. "Then we have the pattern of targeted terminations," Roger continued. 4 veteran employees, all with institutional knowledge, all eliminated within days of the accounting adjustments being finalized. Coincidence? I think not. The expensive suit leaned over and whispered something in Reynolds' ear, probably calculating legal fees and potential damages. The math wasn't pretty. "What do you want?" Reynolds asked finally. "Full compliance with Mr. Morrison's original employment contract," Roger replied. "Section 8C, 10% of departmental quarterly profit. Based on your inflated Q3 numbers, that comes to $1.2 million. "That's outrageous," Susan Walsh protested. "What's outrageous is systematic fraud designed to cheat employees out of their rightful compensation," Roger shot back. "We're also prepared to file complaints with the SEC regarding the revenue manipulation and refer the document forgery to federal prosecutors." The silence in that room was beautiful. Corporate bullies aren't used to facing people who fight back with facts and evidence. Reynolds looked at Brad like he wanted to strangle him with that stupid golf tie. "Mr. Cooper, step outside," Reynolds said quietly. It wasn't a request. Brad looked like he wanted to argue, then thought better of it. Smart move. The man was already drowning. No point in making things worse by opening his mouth again. He gathered his papers and slunk out of the conference room like a dog who'd been caught chewing the furniture. After the door closed, Reynolds turned back to us. "Mr. Morrison, could I speak with you privately for a moment?" Roger nodded. The room emptied except for me and the CEO. Just 2 men who'd been around long enough to recognize when the game was over. "You're not here to burn down the building," Reynolds said. "You're here to collect what you're owed and move on with your life." "That's right." He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a checkbook, the old-fashioned kind that executives use when they need to make problems disappear quietly. Full payment as specified in your original contract, $1.2 million. In return, you sign a comprehensive non-disclosure agreement and this matter stays between us. And Cooper? Cooper's employment will be terminated for cause within the hour. Official reason: violation of company ethics policies and mismanagement of departmental resources. I looked at Reynolds for a long moment. This wasn't about justice or vindication. It was pure business calculation. Pay me now or face federal investigators, SEC reviews, and class action lawsuits that could destroy the company. He was cutting his losses and moving on. "Deal," I said. We shook hands. Professional, clean, no drama. Roger handled the paperwork while I sat there trying to process the fact that my life had just changed forever. The wire transfer hit my account on Tuesday morning. $1.2 million, minus taxes and legal fees. Still more money than I'd ever imagined having at one time. First thing I did was call my son's college bursar office. This is Steve Morrison. I need to pay off my son's entire account. Tuition, room and board, everything through graduation. The woman on the other end seemed confused. Sir, that would be approximately $320,000 for the remaining 3 years. Wire transfer work for you? Yes, sir. That would work fine. Second call went to Sunset Manor, the assisted living facility my dad had been waitlisted for since his Alzheimer's started getting worse. This is Steve Morrison. My father, Harold Morrison, is on your waiting list. I can pay the full deposit today. When can he move in? Mr. Morrison, the deposit is $75,000, and monthly fees are... Money's not an issue. I just want the best care for my father. Third call was to Tony Rodriguez. Tony, remember that consulting job we talked about? The one where you'd help small companies set up proper IT security systems? Yeah, but Steve, I can't afford to leave my job right now. The mortgage, the kids. What if I told you I could cover your startup costs, give you a year's salary up front while you build your client base? Long pause. Steve, what the hell happened with that lawsuit? Let's just say justice occasionally wins one. You interested or not? Hell yes, I'm interested. Fourth call was the hardest. Janet Miller deserved to know that her courage in speaking up had made a difference. Janet, it's Steve. I wanted to let you know, they settled. Full amount. I'm glad, Steve. You deserve better than what they did to you. There's something else. I'm setting up a scholarship fund for veterans' children who want to study accounting or finance. People like you who believe in doing things the right way. Would you consider managing it? I could hear her crying on the other end of the line. Steve, that's wonderful. Yes, I'd be honored. The rest of the money went into investments and a modest house with a workshop where I could build furniture and remember what it felt like to create something instead of just managing corporate politics. Nothing fancy. Just a place where a man could think clearly and sleep well at night. I kept working, of course. Found a position with a veteran-owned logistics company that actually treated employees like human beings instead of line items on a spreadsheet. Better pay, better people, and nobody trying to steal bonuses to fund executive yacht payments. Brad Cooper? Last I heard, he was working at some startup that burned through investor money faster than he used to burn through department budgets. Turns out when you don't have competent people doing the actual work, all the MBA buzzwords in the world won't save you from reality. The company itself survived. Barely. Reynolds brought in new leadership, restructured the accounting practices, and probably spent more on legal fees than they would have if they'd just treated people decently in the first place. Funny how that works. 6 months later, I got a letter from Jerry Patterson at Apex Industries. They'd decided not to renew their contract when it came up for review. Seems they preferred working with companies that honored their commitments to employees. Last I heard, 3 other major clients had made similar decisions. That's the thing about reputation. It takes years to build and minutes to destroy. And once people know you can't be trusted with your own employees, why would they trust you with their business? Sometimes people ask me if I have any regrets about how it all went down. Truth is, I sleep better now than I have in years, not just because of the financial security, though that doesn't hurt, but because I learned something important about fighting back when someone tries to cheat you. The system isn't rigged if you know how to work it. Read your contracts carefully. Keep detailed records. Build relationships with people who have integrity. And when someone tries to screw you over, don't get mad. Get methodical, because in the end, the truth has a way of surfacing. Corporate bullies count on people being too intimidated or too broke to fight back, but sometimes they pick the wrong target. Someone who's been through real battles and knows the difference between actual problems and just inconvenient paperwork. And when that happens, justice isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Corporate bullies survive on silence and submission. Break either one, and their whole system collapses. The biggest mistake they made wasn't cheating me out of money, it was underestimating a man who'd already faced real enemies and knew the difference between actual threats and corporate intimidation.